Welcome back to Studio F, where on Fast Times with Willy B, we'll be talking about I.S.S. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell?
Welcome back to Fast Times with Willy B. I'm Willy B. I got Brennan back for some I.S.S. action. Brennan, how we feeling today?
I'm feeling good.
Feeling good.
Glad to be here.
So we just checked out I.S.S. directed by Gabriella Cowperthwaite. Had to look up the pronunciation on that one, make sure I didn't butcher it. Some recognizable names in this one as well. You know, you got Ariana DeBose, Chris Messina, and then I'm not even going to try the rest of the cast because I'm not going to butcher the Russian names.
Yeah.
But I would say overall, 6 people in this cast, they all did a great job. So let's just hop into the good. Let's kick it off. The first thing I'd like to highlight is the concept of this movie. When the trailer came out, you know, you got Wind of Change by Scorpions as the song accompanying the trailer, and it plays in the movie, which, shout out, favorite Scorpions song. But the concept of these people living up in the International Space Station, and then, you know, nuclear war breaks out between Russia and America, and they both get the same orders, take over the space station. It's a pretty cool concept when you think about it. I actually had some high anticipation going into this one.
Yeah, and that was kind of my one point that I mentioned when you brought it up. So when you brought up Destroy All Neighbors, or then mentioned that this one was out and kind of gave me the option of the two, first thing I said was, I think this concept is sweet. Like,
Yeah.
there's been how many, like, outer space movies, and I think this is the first, like, I felt like an original idea.
Yeah.
And just, you know, I mean, that was the first thing that kind of caught my attention.
Yeah.
Watching the trailer or even just hearing about it.
And it's a story, too, that's kind of relevant, you know, given the political landscape. There's tension just about everybody between, it seems like. But with nuclear war being an ongoing threat, I feel like all the time, you know, I don't really get into politics, but it feels like that's been the conversation for a while now, and seeing it play out, you know, kind of makes it feel like this isn't super unrealistic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if the big man of either country just decided one day,
Right.
this could really happen. But cool concept. The story was pretty good. I would say the cast, like I said before, did a phenomenal job. I think all the way up and down. Even the lesser known names, I would say Alexei, I'll say his movie name.
Yeah.
He killed it. He was probably my favorite part of this film. Not just, you know, his acting and his character, but the character development that he went through. You start this one thinking Alexei's going to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
When, you know, they get these orders that he's going to be the one that's just picking them off one by one. But he kind of has this character arc where he comes around and he ends up being like, why can't we all just be friends, you know?
Yeah.
And I really liked his character development. I thought they did a really good job with his. And vice versa, on the American side, you know, Kira, our main character, she's, after Gordon dies, she only has Christian, and he kind of takes the villainous role after it seemed like he was going to be the comic relief kind of fun. So the character arcs, I would say, were pretty cool, but I thought the cast did a great job.
Yeah, it was definitely, like, kind of flipped. Like, you kind of, I mean, maybe it's just stereotypical, like, all Russians are big and bad, which, I mean, on both sides you see that, you know, but yeah, I enjoyed Alexei, you know, taking that change and, you know, becoming a good guy. And like you said, just his whole character arc, and, you know, I enjoyed that as well.
And, you know, you get a little bit of Buzz Lightyear quotes in this movie.
Yeah, at the beginning.
So she says, you know, as long as what's important is we stick together. And that's how Kira gets Alexei insured to be on his side there at the end, too, is she says that quote in Russian. He's like, it kind of reminded him of his, you know, friend Nika that he just lost in this film. And I thought that was kind of cool how that was a full circle moment as well, that quote.
Right.
But, you know, like I said, I loved Alexei. One of my favorite shots in the film was actually after Nikolai, who was probably the worst part of the Russian trio.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And Gordon, who we thought was dead, ends up coming back. But once they fight and they end up killing each other, like, simultaneously, and they get the door open, the shot that's behind Alexi as he looks into this tunnel that they fought in, and it's just all you see is the light. You don't even see the bodies inside. That was my favorite shot in the film.
It was cool seeing like that perspective of him because like everybody's rushing in to get them, and he's just kind of sitting back, and it's just like,
and he knows he's the only Russian left.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. As far as VFX, I think they could go either way. There were some that were really good and, smaller budget. Anytime you get a space movie on a smaller budget, there's going to be some nitpicky things. But for the most part, I thought, the look of ISS and space itself held up throughout most of the movie. The blood was really cool. They had the no gravity effect of the blood.
Yeah, and it kind of showed that with the alcohol at the beginning, too.
With the alcohol.
She accidentally opened the bottle. Everybody's sucking
taking shots, basically, out of the air. Liquid bubbles.
I like that.
I thought they did a really good job with, obviously the no gravity stuff. I thought they did a really good job with that. But the blood kind of added that element of, like, unsettling. Yeah. Like, because you just see it floating in the air rather than it pouring out. And it just adds an extra layer of, like...
Right, something that you don't think about because all these movies, like you said, have just blood pouring out, big puddles. You don't see that too often.
Yeah, the shot after Nika gets hit in the back of the head and killed... When they go back and they just show the empty room and the blood's still floating there, that was a really cool shot as well.
Yeah, and like you said, just I don't know, it just very eerie, like just different aspects of being in space versus down here, which I thought they did good with like the background of Earth. Mm-hmm. So like you out the window, you just see big burning, and like when Gordon's outside. And he's saying, don't look out the windows. And he's just, like, kind of soaking it all in. Realizing that, like, they're, from what they might think, the only ones left alive.
Yeah. Gordon did a good job with that, too. Kind of, like, obviously all you see is his face in this astronaut suit looking around. Great face acting. Like, you could see the tearing up, the sound in his voice when he's like, don't look out the window. I thought that was really well. Going back to, the cast just being great. I thought the score was great. My favorite, I would say, piece was probably when, after they think Gordon's dead because the swing arm takes him out. Nika, who was in a relationship with Gordon, she goes by herself, and you can tell she's screaming, clenching her fist, but you don't hear her. You just hear this like sharp score, and I thought that was powerful. When that happened, I was like, whoa.
Right.
Like,
and
it
it
took
just
me
added
aback,
so much more than her actually screaming. Yeah, for sure.
Which I actually like that a lot because I feel like in the last couple of months, making these episodes, I feel like there's been a few movies where I'm like, her scream wasn't great. I know Anyone But You, Sydney Sweeney had a screaming scene and it wasn't great. So it was kind of cool, to still see the emotion, but with like a powerful song playing over it, but there's a lot of good in this movie. I wouldn't say it's anything earth-shattering or groundbreaking by any means. No. There are some flaws here and there, but I would say overall I had, a really fun time with this one.
I enjoyed it.
I would say it's, solid. It's a solid film.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Anything else you'd like to add in the good?
No, not good. I think that covered it for me as well. Yeah,
so we can hop over to the meh. For me, I'll start with, some of, obviously, you can put the nitpicky visual effects here, but we want to dive into that because for the most part, based on the budget, I would say they did a great job. Here, that first swing arm kill on Gordon, I'd probably have in the med just because it was super anticlimactic. And, it ends up redeeming itself by him not actually being dead. But if that's the way he was, left off, I feel like I'd have been a little more upset.
Right. I feel like he added more to the movie. So for him just to kind of get bumped off and then, they chase him out the windows. Like, you see him just floating one by one by the window.
Space.
And I really thought that was it. And then, obviously, you find out that
he's holding on for dear life.
But, I feel like there could have, I don't know, added more to it. Like, even, like, when he was attaching himself. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I just don't think there was, I think they could have just changed that entire thing. Because even if, like, he unattached himself to reach and kind of floated off, I feel like that's kind of a little cliche. Maybe didn't really add much more than the swing arm would have. Yeah. But, I'm not sure how they could have went around that one.
I think that was also, jumping back to the good for a second, I guess, that is where you saw Alexi's character really turn, though, is when he noticed that he was still out in space alive. Yeah. He helped him with the swing arm get back in. So that was kind of cool. Also in the net for me, I'd say pacing. A 90-minute movie, 95 minutes to be exact,
Yeah.
I believe. So if you take credits out, it's actually under an hour and a half. At moments, it felt longer than 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think that was my first comment on it.
Yeah.
After the movie, I just like I felt like it was pushing maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe a tiny bit over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't like have a major problem with it. Just definitely at times it was slow.
And I get it when you have a movie, that takes place in the same space the entire
Yeah,
film.
that's true.
It sometimes gets hard to not get slow.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say they did a bad job. I still think for the most part they kept it entertaining. There was just a couple scenes where I was like, okay, we probably could either just cut this short or cut it out entirely.
I think maybe, like, I have no idea, but maybe just them just giving you the added shots of space, like them floating, different things, just to kind of get the feel of it. But, I mean, I don't know that it added too much to the movie as a whole.
But outside of that, I don't have much more mad either. Like I said, there's a lot of good with this film. But we could head over to the bad. A lot of the bad, I don't have a lot of bad, but most of it happens in the third act. I thought the ending was a little underwhelming. And I know it's tough. How do you end a movie like this? I think, how they ended it with Alexi and Kira being friends, putting everything that just happened aside and
from one being one from America and one from Russia,
going back, the unlikely bond going back down, and then it just cuts. You don't even see if they land or anything or what's going on Earth. I thought, through them picking each other off, there was also this looming doom that the space station's falling.
Yeah.
I thought maybe an ending where it crashes, and it's a really sad ending, but it could have been like, wow, that's how you end this. It would have made you think more,
Right.
I don't know how I felt about the ending. I thought the third act was a little underwhelming. There's a scene where they're making sandwiches, and there's a knife. Of course there would be, and it's not a butter knife to spread mayo. No, they're using a butcher's knife.
Right, and it wasn't even like thick bread. It was like those
tortilla wraps.
Yeah, like that had to have cut through.
So he's spreading whatever sauce, some sort of mustard.
Yeah.
And then she asks for the knife for the mayo, and it's set down there. And this is where we get the quote, the Buzz Lightyear quote in Russian. And then there's like a stare down at the knife for like, it went on too long.
Yeah.
I think that's what upset me.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, it's a trope for them both to stare at the knife and not react quickly, but then you let it go on too long.
They're still staring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd put that in the bad just because, I know it's, nitpicky. It would have eliminated 5-10 seconds. But, I was just like, okay, like, getting a little cringy there. But, most of my displeasures with this film was probably in the third act.
Yeah, touching back on the ending, we talked a little bit before we started, and I don't know how else they could have did it. Like you said, like the station's falling, and maybe an ending with them crashing and stuff like that. But I liked how it showed both screens, and I can't read Russian, but I'm assuming off of the American one, they're asking. Like, who's alive? Like, did you finish what we asked of you, which was take over the I.S.S. By any means? And so at the end, when they're going down, I thought when she clicked the button, it just shut off all the communications. But I don't know if that was actually what it was. It just seemed like it. But for her, them talking in the space, like the little shuttle that they're in, like, any Americans on board will do anything to help you. And then them going down to nothing. Like, he asked where we're going. Like, I don't know.
That was cool. I will give you that. Like, and I know, obviously, with the budget and, keeping it to 6 people, we were never going to get to see Earth, but I think that also would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
To see them land and see what just Earth looked like.
Right.
At the ground level.
Or even if they land. Because when they were coming up with the plan, Veronica was kind of telling her what to do. Like, she wasn't sure she could land it without the communications, which obviously at the end you see that they have communications.
Yeah.
But just seeing what could have happened with that, I don't know. But also an ending where they have this cure for the radiation, which is what they're bringing down.
Yeah.
If they thrusted them back up, which they did, but kept them there until they kind of came up with basically holding them hostage.
Yeah.
Like for the cure, like you got to come down to America, you got to come down to Russia or something to give us the cure. And maybe something that kind of hangs you up there, like cliffhanging you there, but I don't I don't know how else they could have did it, but I definitely feel like it fell a little short, just like
Yeah. I'm not saying it was horrible. It was just very underwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, an ending can really make or break a movie. I don't think it broke it. That's what I'm
No,
like. I don't think it
I
was
still
horrible.
definitely enjoyed all the
Yeah.
way up until
Yeah.
the last couple minutes, but
So we'll hop over to final thoughts and ratings. So what are you giving this out of 10, and where do you want to leave off with I.S.S.?
I'm in between a 6 and a 7.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're really getting me out here rating 2 movies in the
I
last
know.
week. But I might sit at a 6.
A 6? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I actually landed on a 7. I was between like high 6, low 7, and I'm just gonna say it's a solid 7 out of 10 for me. Just a solid watch.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend anyone into thrillers or sci-fi, go check this out. Anyone into
Yeah.
space movies, go check this out. But even if you're not into that stuff, I still think it's an enjoyable enough watch for the casual moviegoer,
Yeah.
I say.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're not gonna go there and get your mind blown by any means.
No.
But you're gonna get there and have a fun 90 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And at the end of the day, that's worth the price of admission, in my opinion.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that'll do it for I.S.S. Thank you, Brennan,
Yep.
for coming on.
Thanks for having
It's always
me.
a pleasure. You'll be back again in a couple weeks for
Oh, yes.
for a
Social
special
media.
episode. You know, a little Facebook birthday, 20th birthday, by the way. Crazy to think that Facebook's been out since 2004, but
Yeah. And,
we'll
we're getting old.
we're getting old. But we'll review some social network with you here in a few weeks. But thank you guys again for always watching. If you like what you're watching, check out some other stuff. Hit the subscribe button. Social links down in the description below. Might as well click them because you're here. But again, thank you for watching, and we will talk to you all soon. Peace.